Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 4 top 5 defenses to stream for the 2024 fantasy football season. We're going to be going in depth through 5 different defenses that I believe you guys should be looking to run to the waiver wire to pick up right now due to their advantageous matchup for week number 4. We'll also be talking about a couple of defenses at the end of the video that are honorable mentions that probably aren't available in your league, but if they are available, I would definitely look to pick them up and start them this week. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 4 defenses to stream for the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with my first defense to be streaming for week number 4, and that is the Miami Dolphins going up against the Tennessee Titans at home in Miami on Monday Night Football. 47% rostered for the Dolphins defense on Yahoo, 14.7% on NFL, and 50.8% on ESPN. A rematch of the game from last year where the Dolphins completely fell apart and combusted like the ship of the people that went to go look for the Titanic. And as a Dolphins fan, while this matchup on paper should be dominant for the defense, and I believe it will be, there is still something in the back of my head that makes me very, 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 very nervous about this game. Now, the Dolphins just got bent over a table by the Seattle Seahawks. Now, it wasn't because the Seahawks offense ended up having this huge game like the big bad wolf and blew the Dolphins defense's house down. The Dolphins defense was all over Geno Smith and the offense in this game. Problem was Skylar Thompson was completely and utterly limp dick in this game, and the Miami Dolphins offense imploded on themselves. They completely and utterly failed the team. The Dolphins defense had 3 sacks, 2 INTs, and 24 points allowed. The rushing attack of the Seattle Seahawks was amazing in this game. As we all know, I said it all of last week. I say it every single week. The Miami Dolphins defense cannot stop the run, but up against the pass, they did have Geno Smith looking very confused at times. This matchup going up against Will Levis is great for the Dolphins defense. I understand that the Dolphins defense is far from perfect. They are far from one of the best defensive units in the NFL, but going up against Will Levis, the Dolphins defense might look like the 85 Bears. The Packers defense absolutely ate Will Levis alive last week in Tennessee, eating a W 30-14 in the Will Levis revenge game. 8 sacks for the defense, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown, and 14 points allowed. Now, obviously, do I expect the Dolphins defense to get 8 sacks in this game and a touchdown? No, but they could easily repeat what they did last week, which again, up against Seattle, 3 sacks, 2 INTs, and 24 points allowed, and you would be ecstatic to have picked up the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins also go ahead and play up against the Patriots in Foxborough next week, so you can definitely fire up the Dolphins defense again in back-to-back games. Now we move to number 2 team here, which is going to be the cold like Minnesota Vikings going up against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. 52% rostered for the Vikings defense, 23.7% on NFL, and 20.3% on ESPN. Now, the Vikings defense has been unreal this season. Despite the fact that they don't have the best defensive players, their roster, the depth chart doesn't scream this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, but Brian Flores has these guys buzzing game in and game out. They had CJ Stroud out there looking like Will Levis, right? They had CJ Stroud out there completely confused. He had no idea what to do. The Vikings win that game 34-7. 5 sacks, 2 INTs, and 17 points allowed. The Vikings defense has been downright incredible through the first 3 games of the season, and Mono Man Sam Darnold has also been on fire NBA Jam style. I do understand that maybe Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet returns in this game, and obviously the Vikings defense would much prefer to play up against Malik Willis. But even up against Jordan Love, who probably is nowhere near close to 100%, I still heavily believe in the Vikings defense. The Titans defense last week up against the Packers, they lose 14-30, 3 sacks and 24 points allowed. And the Titans defense isn't even on the same pedestal, the same pedigree of the Minnesota Vikings. This defense is downright incredible under Brian Flores. They dial up all these crazy blitzes, and again, it leaves the quarterback flustered, which leads to a whole lot of mistakes. In fantasy football, the defenses really get that boost from getting the sacks, from getting the picks. It isn't always about shutting out your opponent. The way you really go over the top ropes, RKO style here, is by getting the turnovers, getting the sacks, and potentially scoring touchdowns. I think the Vikings defense is live to score a touchdown in any game. Now, next week, the Vikings play the Jets in week 5 in London in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Those games typically end up being straight up ass, shout out Layla Starr. Now, there's always going to be the diamond in the rough, right? The game where they go to Germany, or they're in Brazil, or they're in some other country and the game ends up going crazy. But with how good the Vikings defense is, look, I get Aaron Rodgers looked great. Shout out Tony the Tiger. I get that the Jets defense, or the Jets offense and defense, are both very, very solid. But at the end of the day, this Vikings defense is running so hot that I would be fine playing them up against the Jumbo Jets next week in London. Next up, we move to defense number 3 here, and it is the Arizona Cardinals going up against the left hands up. Who are we? The Commanders at home in Arizona, rostered in 1% of leagues on Yahoo, 18% on NFL, and 0.8% on ESPN. So it should be very easy to pick up the Arizona Cardinals. They are widely available. Now, the Arizona Cardinals defense, week 3 versus the Detroit Lions, they look good up against Jared Goff. And frankly, they got their Johnson fondled Diddy style by the refs. The refs fucked the defense over. They had a pick 6 in that game at the 2-minute warning, but the refs let the play out. They threw the pick 6, and then they whistle. It was actually the 2-minute warning, guys. No, the refs in the NFL are just so great. So the Cardinals defense, again, 2 sacks, 1 INT, 20 points allowed. The week prior, the Arizona Cardinals had Matthew Stafford getting fucking plowed like he was at the back of the bang bus. So I fully expect, while this Cardinals defense is another team on paper that isn't really all that good, they have been playing solid recently, and streaming up against Jaden Stormy Daniels hasn't really failed me just yet. Now, the Commanders do play tonight in one of the 2 Monday night football games, so we will have to hop in the time machine, Marty McFly style, and go back to week number 2 for the last game that the Commanders played, which was up against the Giants defense in Washington. The Giants lose that game 18-21, mainly because their kicker got hurt, 5 sacks and 21 points allowed. The Arizona Cardinals defense will play up against the 49ers next week, and while I think the Cardinals are very live to beat that team in Santa Clara, even with the 49ers offense probably not going to be at full strength, I definitely would not want to start the Cardinals defense in that game. Now, Jaden Daniels in this game, you might get Jaden Daniels where he is laying down the pipe on the Arizona Cardinals defense. I could definitely see this game being one of those tit-for-tat, rock'em sock'em robots, high-scoring affairs. But you could also see this game where maybe Kyler Murray gets up early, like up against the LA Rams, and then the Commanders just have no answer for it. I definitely love Jaden Daniels. He will be listed as a start-worthy quarterback in this game, but his offensive line is a fucking turnstile, so I think the Arizona Cardinals defense will be able to sack him multiple times in this game. Next defense, we got the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Cleveland Browns at home in Viva Las Vegas. 44% rostered on Yahoo for the Raiders, 33.2% on NFL, and 30.5% on ESPN. Now, if you had the Raiders defense last week, the Raiders got spit roasted by Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, and the Carolina Panthers. Now, if the Raiders played up against Bryce Young, it would have been a 5-star feast. It would be like that Shannon Sharp meme where he's eating all the food. He's like the oxtail, the ribs, all that. It would have been a beautiful meal created by Gordon Ramsay himself. But instead, Andy Dalton chopped the tree down like his name was George Washington, and the Raiders defense was flustered. Now, the Raiders definitely got the short end of the stick here. I guess actually they got the full end of the stick because they got fucking shafted. But the Raiders were a team where this was the definition of a trap, Admiral Akbar style, right? Where you think that, oh, the Panthers fucking suck, right? There's no way Andy Dalton's going to beat the Raiders. And then Andy Dalton goes out and beats the Raiders, right? So it was the ultimate trap game for the Raiders after the Raiders just went ahead and beat the Baltimore Ravens. Again, I'm not going to go here and throw every excuse ever out at you guys. I told you to pick up the Raiders defense, and that was a big fat L. But like that Drake song, redemption is on my mind, and I think it's on the mind of the Raiders, and I expect them to bounce back up against the massage man, Deshaun Watson, in this game. Again, only 2 sacks last week, 36 points allowed. Chuba Hubbard and friends had a field day up against this defense. They lose the game 22-36. But again, I do think the Raiders defense is a lot better than what they showed us last week. And we just saw, while the Cleveland Browns started off that game all hot and bothered, Amari Cooper, they go right down the field, touchdown. It's like, holy shit, Amari Cooper's back. Deshaun Watson is slicing and dicing his way through the defense like he's playing fucking Fruit Ninja. And then it all falls down. The Giants defense had 8 sacks. 8 sacks on Deshaun Watson, 2 fumble recoveries, and 15 points allowed. I'm not going to sit here and give the gawk 9,000 special to the Raiders defense, as we just saw Andy Dalton pulverize that defense, but I do think that they're going to bounce back up against Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Raiders do play up against the Broncos in week 5, and depending on how hot the Broncos ride, because the Broncos are obviously coming off that big W up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we may want to start the Raiders again in week number 5 before we go on into the next defensive stream here, and then we'll also have the honorable mentions that probably aren't available. But I get a lot of comments like, Nick, why didn't you talk about this defense? You should clearly be adding them. And the roster in like 85% of leagues, but miraculously in some of your guys' leagues, they are available. But I do want to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you're new to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code Notorious, you'll be able to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. If you're new, you can get this free pick right here on your screen tonight. Joe Burrow going up against the Washington Commanders, higher than half of a total yard. You match that with any other player playing not on the Bengals tonight, and you'll be able to receive 3 times what you put into your pick'em. If you add multiple other players, then the payout will obviously be bigger on your pick'em. Again, promo code Notorious to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. If you're watching this after Monday Night Football and you're like, Nick, the Bengals pick is going to be gone. They already played. That would be true, but you would be able to get a different free pick that is very similar to the higher half of a total yard for Joe Burrow tonight. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out over on Underdog Fantasy. Again, promo code Notorious. So final defense is going to be the LA Titans, the Tennessee Titans, going up against my Miami Dolphins in the 305 Dale. Shout out Pitbull. 3% rostered on Yahoo, 1.4% on NFL, and 3.1% on ESPN. Now, what I saw out of the Miami Dolphins defense today made me sick to my stomach. It felt like I just had some fucking 7-Eleven sushi. I was looking at the screen with so much anger. I'm surprised I didn't turn into the fucking Hulk, because that game had every single ounce in my body feeling just so mad. I was so frustrated watching that. Skylar Thompson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. The guy was playing football like he was scared to be in the NFL, buddy. You've started a playoff game for the Dolphins up against the Bills, a game that we almost won in 2022, but up against the Seahawks, the 12th man, the guy was fucking trembling. He was so nervous. He fumbled the ball, couldn't hit Tyreek, couldn't hit Waddle. It was a disaster. And then once he got whacked, Tony Soprano style, then the offense starts to move the ball with Tim Boyle, and then, of course, no one can hold on to the ball, and we lose the game. Now, obviously, this isn't a Dolphins fucking YouTube channel. We talk about fantasy football, but as a Dolphins fan, I was teed off in that game. Now, we're going to fast forward to Monday. Who is the quarterback going to be? Could it be Skylar? More than likely, I think it's going to be either Tim Boyle or Tyler Snoop Huntley. As a Dolphins fan, Tyler Huntley should be in there. I get, does Tyler Huntley have this crazy passing ability? Is he going to dissect the defense like a frog in high school science class? No. But he's going to go out there and run. He's going to go out there and make plays, and he's not going to be a pussy. As a Dolphins fan, that's what I want to see. But I expect this game up against the Titans to be absolutely gross. Absolutely disgusting. The Titans' defense is sneaky good. Are they amazing? No, but they're better than the perception that we have of them. 3 sacks, 24 points allowed against the Packers. They lose 14-30. The Seahawks defense, the 12th man, the Legion of Boom! Shout out the Costco guys, even though they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They win 24-3, 6 sacks, 3 INTs. Dolphins offense right now, Mike McDaniel has not adjusted. Now, as a Dolphins fan, if we lose to the Tennessee Titans, it will be a knife through my heart, metaphorically, and it's going to suck. But I think it's very, very possible. I think the Titans are live to win this game. And while I think the Dolphins defense is going to put in so much work and have a huge game, if our offense comes out limp in the need of Viagra again, I'm not sure we're going to be able to have the answer. We're going to get fucking knocked out like Anthony Joshua did on Saturday. So I am very nervous about this game, and I think the Titans defense is sneaky good. Now, I definitely prefer the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Cardinals, and the Raiders over the Titans. But if you're really down bad, those defenses aren't available. The Tennessee Titans could and are worthy of a pickup. The Titans are on bye in week 5, so you're going to have to go ahead and look elsewhere at defense if you pick up the Titans. Now we're going to talk about the other defense. The defenses that should be added, but I would love to have them. We don't even have a graphic for them because we're just going to read them off. You're going to know why you want to start them. The Pittsburgh Steelers up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson looks like Stevie Wonder out there. The Steelers have one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the NFL, and TJ Watt is going to devour Anthony Richardson. Cleveland Browns at the Raiders. Browns offense pretty bad. Defense, though, looks very nice. I like shutout Borat. The Raiders offense is pretty meh. The Jets going up against the Broncos. I understand that the Broncos did end up beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I think the Jets defense is going to be able to suffocate the Bo Nix offense. And then finally, the 49ers up against the Patriots. I do not think that Gerard Mayo is crazy enough to start Draco May in this game, assuming Jacoby Brissett is good to go, but the 49ers defense up against Jacoby Brissett should be great as well. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, and while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you guys leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Check out Underdog Fantasy again, promo code Notorious to claim your free pick like Joe Burrow, higher than half a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. You can also click on the link in the video description. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. We'll be back later with the waiver wire video. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great one. And as always, good boy.